Hello all, welcome to Q&A again. Still January, still that kind of time of the year when it's just a bit dark and a bit cold and just trying to get everything together. I was actually thinking back to this time last year and I seem to remember I moved my mate Dave to Chris' house. Hello Dave, how you doing? And also Big Dave, I moved to Fish Pond. So, you forget from year to year what it was like last year. But I seem to remember it's always like this. And I don't know if I'm just getting a little bit older, getting a bit creakier, gets a bit difficult getting back into it. But we're powering through. It wasn't out this week, of course, because of the speed awareness course, which knocked me out for Monday, and then I keep doing these pickups where I'm picking up in the afternoon. I've got one on board right now. I've got to drop it off. This being Sunday, I dropped it off yesterday because I'm recording this on Friday. I actually dropped it off. I'll drop it off tomorrow. Where I pick up in MK, and they're dropping to meet the fitters in the morning. They're for them trolley things at Tesco's and Asda's and stuff like that. So you give them the parts and they fit them. So I've got that up for the morning. So I'm working Saturday morning, but then I had Monday off because of the speed awareness course thing. We'll come to that. And I'm kind of grateful for it. I've got one on Tuesday as well. But we'll keep going. We'll get there. So for an intro, JRS says T-shirt, Silence of the Lambs. And David Johnson says, I agree with JRS, Silence of the Lambs. I did actually give the answer away at the end, but I know Sunday Q&A goes on for a bit. I don't know what I've got on today because I've got my sweatshirt on. Hang on a second. A bit of great TV there. Today we are OCP. That should be relatively straightforward in fairness. I'll give the answer at the end if I remember. I do love these t-shirts, they're cool. Also, on the tea plantation thing, now I was going to Google this. There aren't any tea plantations in Norfolk. Surely there aren't any tea plantations. Because I was going on about the fact it's Yorkshire, not Norfolk, Yorkshire tea. But a few people did come back. Adam Connell says the tea plants at Taylor's in Harrogate are grown in big greenhouses. I seem to remember when I worked there for a few weeks. Yorkshire's Daily Grind, who kind of does regularly contribute, he said, on the Yorkshire tea subject, this is Taylor's again, Taylor tea makers in Harrogate, who are Yorkshire tea and also blend coffee, he said, I believe it's brought in from abroad and blended. He said he did some work there, operator's excavator over the weekend, ripping up a driveway surface while it was quiet for the vehicles, I can only say it stinks awful outside. The factory, if I worked there all the time, would put me off tea and coffee for life. Thankfully, it's just a weekend job. And Steve Campbell says, the Yorkshire tea plantation is off the M62 in Oldham. Yeah, I don't think that's true, Steve. Is it, mate? He also goes on. Oh, that's Lee Westcott. She says, "What does everyone do?" Right. So I think probably the Yorkshire's Daily Grind's probably got the right ideas, but I suppose you couldn't call it Yorkshire tea if it's blended in Yorkshire. So if you actually bring the tea in from India or Africa or South America or wherever tea grows, I don't know. Alaska, don't think so. And blend it there. The bit that gets me is he said that the smell's horrible. I kind of thought that if you were surrounded by like coffee beans and tea, it would smell lovely. But I suppose the tea bit might smell a bit like hemp. It might smell a bit, you walk out there a bit sort of like, but maybe not. I don't know. Got to be working better than the glue factory, I should think. But anyway, I will keep my eyes up for the tea plantation off the M62, Steve. I think I'm going to need very, very long eyes. And just, I thought this was just as a side, Lee Westcott says, just as a question, this should go to miscellaneous, but it's getting the wrong section. What does everyone do in the quiet times as a sideline? Can we throw that one out there? What are you all doing? Because the exchange is quiet at the moment. Like I say, Monday, speed awareness course, nothing. Tuesday, thought I'll get, because I had to pick up in the afternoon, thought I'd get something in the morning, nothing. Got to pick up Tuesday. Wednesday, I actually managed to run. Thursday, I was on site waiting for 4 hours, getting loaded, went down to Brighton. And today, one job loaded for the morning. So I don't know what you guys are doing. Are you doing the small removals? Are you doing are you over the Amazon? You on a Shipley? Let us all know. I'll always pass it on, kind of thing. But in the meantime, I hope you are taking care and taking money. That's not the end of the video. If only Sunday Q&As were that short, I hear you ask. But so this week, as I've mentioned, I've been on the speed awareness course. A couple of things I forgot to say in the video. You kind of work out when you're on these courses how often you should speak, because you get the people that want to speak all the time. They're just going to get on your nerves. and you get the people that never speak, and then it's like, the guy's he's trying to do his best here. You've got to throw it out to him. And he's kind of going, so is that a dual carriageway or a single carriageway? And we'll just sit there like this. We're only here because we have to be, and we're just waiting for the time to elapse. And you kind of try to make you sort of, so what I reckon is like maybe one answer in 5. You kind of go, oh, that's that. I'll try and juice it up a little bit. You can inject the odd joke, maybe. Oh, I don't know. You just get through these things. The only reason we do them is because otherwise it's points. And points will come to that as well. You don't want the points. You're going to take the course. It's better to take the course. I just wish... So the last course, they said a few things. I thought, I didn't know that. This one, I sat there for 2 hours and pretty much knew everything they told me. It was more of a punishment than a re-education, I've got to say. And an argument can be made. I drive more than most. Is it fair? But this is what you guys had to say about it. So, Craig MCG125 said, never mind trying not to speed down motorways. I even feel like I can't keep up with the speed limits with the new smart motorways. It just adds to an element of suspense. Craig, mate, this week I'm driving down there and it said 50 on the first gantry, then 40, then 60. I could see the 60 before I entered the 40 and the whole thing was clear. And you ask yourself the question, why? Now, I know you've got to, you might not know what's coming around the corner. There might be debris in the road. There might be a distance. No, there ain't. I can see the whole thing. But if I had been sort of changing the radio station, or if I had been, if someone had sort of, the phone call had come in, you just got to click the button or something like that. So I'm always on the hands-free. And if I'd have missed it, it's like, oh, you're doing 56 to 40, bang, camera, you're done. And you think, is this... I know you say it's to help us and it's to save lives and, to enforce things the right thing. But sometimes you think, yes, sometimes mine is not a reason why. Mine is just to comply. Simon James says, oh dear, Pete, an occupational hazard, my friend. You're not wrong. CJ's at 99. I think he also subscribed to Dave's channel. Hi, CJ, I haven't spoken to you for ages. He said, I think most of us get those worries dealing with these situations. Just like being able to get in without troubles. Driving has gotten to be fiendish just about everywhere these days. Yeah, and I think he's right. I was speaking to Dave, my mate Dave the Chris, he's a London cab driver. He said London's 20. Like you can go 20, but it's not just 20. Box junctions, red routes, cameras. Oh, it was no right turn last week, or it wasn't no right turn. It's no right turn this week, but we've hidden the sign. And okay, I understand that you've got to do these things to keep people safe, but how much of it is keeping people safe and how much of it is sort of cheddar cheese for the council? These CAD zones coming everywhere. Is there really that much difference between the emissions on the Euro 5 and the Euro 6? Or is it just, Birmingham's making a few quid. Let's get one down in Portsmouth. Didn't even know they had a zone. Birmingham, if you go into the zone, it's 50 quid. If you don't pay it, you get the fine. The fine's 60 quid, 10 quid. Portsmouth, if you go into the zone, it's 50 quid. If you don't pay the fine, it's 60 quid. That's 50 plus 60, 110. You're, whoa, hold on. I'll be doing that again. Yeah, Portsmouth's got a zone now. Lee Westcott, he says, am I right in thinking if you're a commercial, we're back on the speed awareness course, by the way. If you're a commercial vehicle driver, your points and fines are doubled. And in my definition of commercial vehicle is from a Ford Fiesta van up to an HGV. As they look at people that drive commercial vehicles as professional drivers, they know I get the same amount of points if I go fast in speed camera as anyone, and they know which vehicle I'm in. So they will say, you were in this lorry driving this time, you were going this fast, you get the same points as everybody else. You're just far more likely to get them, because I drive on average 30, 40 hours a week. My wife might drive 2 hours a week. And I do my best to comply. That's the thing that frustrates me the most about the courses. Now, I think a lot of people have gone, okay, we don't speed anymore. These courses are designed to convince people that think, I'm going to speed, I'm going to go as fast as I can, not the speed. They're not designed to help people, well, they kind of are, that don't speed, that try not to speed to comply more. The truth is, sometimes we all make mistakes. And if you're doing something 10 times as much as someone else, you're 10 times more likely to make that mistake and get caught for it. That's the way I see it. Could be wrong. I'm not. Tall man, small van. He says, I went on one of these courses at the start of 2019. My course, quite pertinent at this actually. My course was 90% couriers and HGV drivers. I wasn't one at the time. One of the truck drivers trying to argue the toss because he says statistically we are more likely to get caught speeding and we should be let off. The people in the course did not go with that. And the problem is they're going to give you the counter argument. They're going to go, no, you're professional drivers. You should know better. Which is fair enough, but like I say, with the best will in the world, if you're driving somewhere you don't know, and then suddenly it drops from 30 to 20 to 30, and you're not used to it, and you go, well, and then, boom. It's pain. You do the best you can. Maybe some people. I mean, in fairness, I say people are better drivers than me. This tends to happen to me on average once every 18 months. So at the moment, I've got 3 points on my licence. I've just done my course. I'm trying my hardest here, guys. I have thought about it though. I have thought about doing one of them Rosper things, where you kind of look up ahead and you see the traffic, and you can get insurance can go down. But then that means basically giving up my weekends to go driving when I drive Monday to Friday 9 to 5 anyway. So you think, Domain name guy says, he said, I wouldn't do the course. I'd always take the points instead of parking tickets. Points are part of the job while driving. It's a very alternative viewpoint there, my friend. You basically, at the end of the day, you choose. You do what you want to do. Personally, the fewer points on my licence, I had a clean licence for about 2-3 years. That was lovely. I'd love to get that back again. I'm going to try. David Johnson says, second time on the course. I've been on almost 2,000 of them. David, you're allowed to do a course every 3 years. That makes you 6,000 years old. I'd like to meet you and find out what is the secret to your longevity and ask you what Jesus was like. But yeah, no, I take your point, mate. I take it because they do courses on. You get one for speeding, one for speeding on a motorway, one for going a red light. There are probably other ones that I haven't even mentioned. So yeah, I mean, I think at one stage my sister-in-law managed to do 3 speeding courses in the space of a month. She works from home now. She's currently running the NHS. Hey, Joe. And finally, on the subject, Godzilla's. He said, never had a course, never been done for speeding in 31. He says, 31 years. It's a matter of time. I drive with the limit in mind, the condition. He said, I don't drive with the limit in mind, but to the conditions, I don't believe that speeding exists. Mate, you are probably the luckiest man on the planet. Like to meet you too as well and find out what next week's lottery numbers are. But that's a wonderful streak, and I pray and I hope it continues for you. So that was me on the speeding course. Multi-drop monthly, which is the one that I do every month for the Circuit channel. Those lovely people over at Circuit have got their own channel. My biggest video is on the Circuit channel. I'll do you a link to it on Christmas. It's had nearly 150,000 views. The biggest video I've ever had on this channel was like 30. It took me 3 years to get it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not that great. I think they put some money behind it. But, yeah, it's out there, the Circuit channel. And I am doing more videos from there, more aimed at the multi-drop people, which I've called multi-drop monthly. I'm thinking of changing the title to Extreme Multi-Drop. Because I like like extreme sports. If you're doing 150 to 200 drops a day, it's like extreme rock climbing, extreme power boating, extreme multi-dropping. Because I figure you guys are doing it. I think you should get some kudos, But yeah, like I say, I'll link somewhere to it, But there is more videos coming out on that. It's a channel similar to mine, but much more aimed at your Argos, Amazon, Hermes, Parcel Force, that lot. But having said that, I'm very grateful for any content or comments that you can give me that I can then use on their channel and stuff like that. It helps. It helps me. It helps them. They pay me, which helps me do this, and thus the wheel spins. So, but this is 2 very interesting points. Mainly, we start off with Godzilla's, because I said I kind of figure if you're driving that van and you're stopping, starting all the time, does it kill the battery? Does it kill your ignition keys? Does it kill your solenoids and all that? He says, does multi-drop kill stuff? Sort of, maybe. He said the starter is good for like 100,000 starts. So you might kill it in 40,000 instead. But still, 40,000 starts. He says you can, which means in real life, once you've changed it, it's 3 to 4 years, given you aren't doing that many miles, and you only stop it when you have to. Sometimes, presumably, you just jump out, do the parcel, jump back in, it's still running. Some report it's a clutch killer, but once again, not really the case. what does suffer, oddly enough, is your tyres. You will see 100,000 out of a set thanks to always steering, always being on lock, and through housing estates and pulling away. So you're kind of wearing the sides out, is what I think is what it's saying. The slow speed moving around kills rubber. Also, the brakes suffer. He said a friend of mine was using a micro for dropping passports, credit cards, and Quick Fit said they would change his brakes out, and offer him a lifetime guarantee. Big mistake. He said the third time he went back, they said they would replace them yet again, but it was the last time. That's 4 lots of brakes he went through in 100,000 miles, which was showing on the clock. He said, I was changing the pads out every second MOT. So what he's saying is the multi-dropping will kill your tyres and your brakes, not your electrical system. John Gunn also says similar feedback to Godzilla's. He said, I bought a new Sprinter back in March, and so far the starter is good, having done just under 40,000 miles. But I'm sure it will be emotional when it goes. It's a Sprinter, mate. It's a Merc. Yeah, it will. The starters, the ignition system one, a Sprinter fits into 2 categories. There's 2 different bits. One's like 400 quid and one's 600 pound, and they tend to go within a week of each other, or within a month of each other. You're looking at the best part of £1,000 to change that. I know, it happened to me. I wasn't happy. What do you mean the starter's broken? You've just changed it. Yeah, it's the other bit. Other bit? What do you mean other bit? It's a key. He says, right. When he goes, new ones have stop start anyway, so hopefully starter is built in for a bashing. Yeah, we'll see about that. Tyres get shredded. Brakes did me roughly 35k, but I don't tend to hammer it. I do roughly to 90 to 120 stops a day for DPD. Was doing 160 at Christmas. Some guys use the box of relays and the Mancrafters, but keys can snap in the ignition with constant use, and they can be less reliable than the Mercs. But that's not a hard or fast rule. As with everything, there's an element of luck involved. As for loading, you can number the parcels in reverse order. Mate, we'll come to that another day, but thank you very much. So it looks like it's the tyres and the brakes that are going to kill you. But if you know better, let me know. I'll gladly pass it on. Steve Campbell, also on the subject of circuits, we're talking about them as well, weren't we? He's done a couple of videos doing the cleaning of the wheelie bins, 70, 90 a day. Steve, where are they? Because the circuit mob wants someone to do videos who's actually doing the circuit, and I don't. I've said this, I don't. As a multi-drop app, I've used it a few times. It's really good. And it's like having, people talking to me about it. It's good because we talk. But I'm not Mr. Multi-Drop. I'm Mr. Lorry. I do like 2 drops a day. Tell me where these videos are. I want to get you in contact with these people. You could be the guy they're looking for. So you got my phone number. Call me. We met for a drink in the pub. He don't drink, he drunk Coke. But I had a pint. Ian Coyle says, he said, I've used the circuit app. The times were way off. I don't know what happened with that, Ian. I've got to be honest with you. A bit more information would be great, because it syncs with either Waze or Google. So it works out the drop order, then syncs with either Waze or Google, and then according to what the traffic is, tells you what the timings are. So if the timings are off, I don't know if that's necessarily down to circuit or down to which app you're using to do your navigation. Because you can use Waze, Google, TruckNav, something else again, I don't know. But yeah, a bit more information on that. I'm surprised, I'll be honest with you. I am, but if it was, it was. H2 iKey 37, that's a droid's name. It would be great if they would let you scan the barcodes in. Barcodes on parcels as you load them into the van. The problem we've got with that is I think barcodes now again, we're going to go to the wise guys here. Are barcodes specific to the place that uses them, or can you just read a barcode? Because that's quite an interesting thing. Can you scan barcodes in with a third-party app is the question. And even if it did, you'd still have to, but you could do that. You could scan it in, and then when it optimises, I don't know. I don't quite know how that'd work. We have to come back to that one. And Mad Dog, he says, Mad Dog, because he's come up with an answer to that one. He said, with a PDA, just take a picture of the code on your phone, then scan the pictures at the end. Again, I'm not quite sure. I think the idea with the circuit thing is it's supposed to simplify the way things work, not make it more complicated. So we're going to have a little think about that one. in truth, but yeah, there we go. And finally, on the subject of the extreme multi-drop-in, Mel Grant says, just like to say the Argos collection of large items at the moment is rubbish when I dealt with them. They took ages. It does happen sometimes. In fairness, when I was doing the Argos, I didn't have many collections. Hold on, someone's at the door. It was a multi-drop delivery driver. Wonderful people. We've got a lot of time from. It was a parcel for my daughter's boyfriend. Please stop for that. Get it delivered to your own house. What's it coming here for? Yeah, when I was doing the Argos, I had to do a couple of actual collections. Yeah, it throws you out because you think drop, and then you're looking for it. You go, where's the one I've got? I can't find it. Oh, it's a collection. And then you're going, are you taking the old controller away with you? I don't know. It did fox me a little bit, but yeah, I think a lot of the time some of these people are too busy, and that could be what messes you about. I think that's a problem with the Hermes at the moment, but that's just my opinion. So, and the final video this week was I spoke to a guy called Ash. Hi Ash, if you're listening. He actually said what you want to do. You want to have a discussion because I know I'm due one that I said from last week about how much should you price on an 18 ton, because I've done one for 7 tons. I haven't done one for 18 tons. Truth is, not a lot of difference between the two, but I'll do one. But he said you want to have a discussion with everybody about the difference between Euro 5 and Euro 6. He says a lot of these people are buying Euro 6 because they feel they need to, and if you actually sit down and do the maths, they might be doing themselves a bit of misservice. So I probably will do that one. I've had plenty of time to do it this week. I was on one collection for 4 hours. That's ridiculous. 4 hours. Got there at 18 minutes past 8, left at 10 past 12 to go to Brighton. Sure enough, I came back empty. They did give me waiting time, and they didn't argue, but I'd still rather not have it. I'd rather have a second job, But yeah, I could have done it then, but sometimes when you're sitting there and waiting, you think, oh, just get this done. It takes your impetus to do other stuff out. It's a shame. But anyway, he did say, and we had this problem in the fact he said, I've got a regular job coming out of Heathrow. Some days it might be 2 pallets, some days it might be 10 pallets, and it might be going to Manchester, Edinburgh, and Newcastle, or it might or it might not. And I said, there's this thing out there called Pallet Line, which is when everyone goes, oh, we'll put it on Pallet Line, or we'll put it on the Pallet Network. I said, I don't know how it works. So I threw it out there, how does Pallet Network works? This is what we got back. Alan Brace says, Pallet Network, mate. He says, I work in a warehouse in Newcastle. We use a Pallet Network all the time. We pay £45 per pallet. £10 extra is required for an AM service. Original Acura R says, he said, well, that doesn't necessarily help how the job is. And he said, with that job, he said, you have to charge the maximum, unfortunately, just the way it goes for these jobs. It's the same whether they give you 20 drops or 70 drops. So you're saying, well, what we're going to do is we are going to charge you for an Arctic for the day to go round here. So if you've only actually got 2 pallets to go out to Manchester, it's still going to cost you 1,200 quid. So I think with that situation, you'd have to actually price it individually. Andre Soldar says, hi Pete. He said, there's lots of jobs. Oh, right, this is something completely. That's kind of what I got back on that. I would say, Ash, the best thing to do is probably do a bit of private research or ring the Pallet Network yourself and go, look, here's something I've got. This is what's happening. Can I use you? Does it help? That's the best I could do, mate. Sorry. There might be more. Maybe next week, if there's more, we'll come back to it. Alan Soldale says, Pete, there's a lot of jobs in Heathrow requiring company ID. Did you face this situation? What does company ID mean? Can I do my own company ID card? Will it be accepted? Thank you. Yes, company ID is Mickey Mouse in the fact that it comes in and it says requires company ID. And I've gone, yeah, but I've got the job of the CX, so I've got it off of Barry's Couriers. I'm not going to have company ID for Barry's Couriers. I'm going to have company ID for Vango Transport, which is my company. So when I get up, they're expecting Barry's Courier drivers. Have you got the ID? Yeah. Vango Transport. And they went, yeah, they know all about that. They don't care. And then it turns out you can basically get company ID made off of, you can either print it. I mean, I got my daughter to print one off and got it laminated. It looked it wasn't great. And I didn't want to ask her to do it twice. It was a bit too big and it didn't look brilliant. But you basically print it off yourself. So it's like, have you got a passport? Your passport, driver's license? Yes. Have you got company ID? Yes. You get your kids to do it on a DTP, print it off, laminate it, and they go, there you go. So it doesn't mean anything, really. It's frustrating, but requires company ID. And if you're going to do it, print that you want to put a date on it. Because otherwise, go with expiry date. Put the expiry date for 2 years. Don't put it for 1, put it for 2. That way it expires later. You can pay online people to do it for about 25 quid. I kind of don't really go into London anymore anyway because of the Euro 6 thing. And it says requires company ID. I always used to think, well, that's going to be an airport. That's going to be painful. Painful getting in, sitting there forever, painful getting out. I just thought I won't do it. But yeah, that's what company ID is. David Cozzy says, David finally honestly makes the reasonable point. It's going to Newcastle, Manchester and Glasgow. All three of these destinations near airports. Why don't they just fly them there? I imagine it's cost prohibitive. You could get a Chinook helicopter and just drop them individually, but again, probably difficult with airspace and cost prohibitive, I imagine. So, we're on to the wise guys now. This is the question. I think there's only one of the wise guys. So we threw the question out last week. This is one I need to know the answer to. Ian Reynolds says, it's to do with the tax and VAT on mileage. He says, can I still claim the 40p a mile for the first 10,000 miles and 20p after that on my tax rebate if I'm using a card? If I do 300 miles a week over 6 days doing parcels, and that will allocate to be the right wedge when it comes to it. He says, so can I use my card and claim 40 pence? I have no idea. I just use. I have a fuel card. When I go into the petrol station, I hand over the fuel card. I press the 4-digit code. They say thanks very much, and I leave. So if anyone can help Ian Reynolds with his question, and we can put that one out next week, that would be great. Right, trucks. We're on to trucks. Quite a bit on trucks this week, actually. I said about the idea when I go again, will I get an automatic? My mate Nick, the Urban Trucker. Hello, mate. Phil, a farm of information as always. He says, on the subject of automatic gearboxes, my Scania has a 3-pedal OptiCruise semi-automatic gearbox. Basically, you can just use the clutch to pull away when you come to a stop. It's great because you don't have the hesitation like you do with some other automatics at roundabouts. That's my fear. You put your foot down to go off on a roundabout and the gain isn't there, and then you're pulling off slowly and you're thinking, he's going to smack it, so he's going to get the horn in a minute, he's going to frown at me. It's not my fault, I put my foot down, you know. And junctions. It gives you much better control when reversing. It's the best of both worlds. You should try one next time you're looking for another truck. I will bear it in mind. I've still got to get a driver first. We've got 4 lorries and 3 drivers at the moment. If you're in the Dunstable area and you fancy a job working for Vanguard, please leave a message in the notes. I'll put it over to Alan. Uncle Semtex. It's an interesting logo, that one. Says, on the subject of leasing a truck on your own licence, because there was that thing, can you take a truck on your own licence? Can I hire a truck and use it if my truck breaks down? He says, on the subject, it's on leasing, because we're thinking about leasing, but you need to be limited. We're still not limited. We've got to be soon because the tax is going to kill us. On the subject of leasing a truck on your own licence, you can lease a truck if you have a spare space on your own licence. It all comes down to if you've got the spare space, you can do it. For example, if you're running 6 trucks on your own licence, or you have 12 trucks, then you can lease 6 if you've got 12 on your own. If you have an O licence for 12 trucks and you're running 12 trucks, you can't lease a truck at all. So it really just comes down to what space you've got on your own licence. Well, I've got 6 spaces on my O licence and 4 trucks. So theoretically, I could then hire trucks on my O licence and get the thing put in. I could hire them on a daily basis and run them. And I think that is the end of that. And thank you very much to everybody who put me in the picture. Always much appreciated from Clueless Pete over here. Tom Moyer says, I love the video. It's very helpful for getting the O licence haulage information. He says, the only thing I would disagree with, this is what is the best truck. On the best trucks, he says Volvo's the way forward. I drive a Volvo FH unit. It's a superb wagon. They do nice ridges too. Agree on the London stuff. It's no fun driving Arctics down there. Yes, mate, tell me about it. I mean, I don't, but I've seen them and I thought, really? I wouldn't fancy doing that. Most days, which is why I'm looking at getting it's no fun getting O licence. Presumably get a smaller truck. Thanks for the advice. Good luck with the O licence. Absolutely. The truth of the matter is, I've only ever owned 2 trucks. I've driven, no, that's not true. I've only ever driven 2 trucks regularly. I used to have a 75 E15, which is the original Iveco. That was Shirley. She was lovely, reliable, fantastic until she died. Ran her at the ground, bless her. And I've got Alice, who's the DAF. Both of them have been absolutely fine trucks. I fancy a Merc. Harry's got a Merc. I fancy the Merc. I can't really comment on which is the best trucks to drive. The best people to talk about this would probably be you guys who are like agency drivers, jumping in and out of lorries all the time. You'd be in a much better position to go, well, I prefer this is automatic's better, this semi-automatic's better, this lorry's better than that lorry. I think also at the end of the day, it comes down to personal choice. I found both. I mean, I was my mechanic said don't buy an Iveco anymore. They used to be good. Iveco, I vibrate, everything comes off. But then I spoke to a guy when I was there for 4 hours getting loaded on Thursday, yesterday. And he went, he's got an Iveco. I said, brilliant. Absolutely love it. I think it just comes down to maybe there's a difference on each individual lorry as it comes off the production line. Maybe it just comes down to personal preference. I really don't know, But for me, I find the DAF is very much like a Transit. It's reliable. The parts are cheap. They're easy to get hold of. And Alice has been a very lovely truck to me. I can't complain. And it wasn't dear. 5,200 quid I paid for that truck. I've had it probably coming up for over 2 years now. Don't owe me no money. Didn't owe me any money in the first 2 months. So, probably less than that. Right. Matthew Smith says, that was it. We said about bays. Because I said, if you've got the big tail lift on the back of your lorry, how'd you get it on a bay? And again, that guy, the Iveco guy, the one I just mentioned, he's got a tiny little tail lift. It says, like I used to have on my first Luton on Penny. And you could drop the tail, and the tail actually drops, so it's that far off the floor, but still clear, so you can reverse it. The problem with that is it's not a very big tail. And if you've got to get a pallet off, you've got to take, I had to take off a pallet of Red Bull. It must have weighed a ton. And when you've got a tiny tail lift to play with, it's no fun at all. So if that starts to go, you've got to position it just right. You've got to sort of, on your pallet, you've got to get it the small side round and get it just right. And if you go a little bit too far, it starts to tip. It's good night Vienna. So the bigger tail lifts are better, but then there's the bay problem. And he said that with the bays, they have a gap underneath, so you can drop the tail and you can reverse it through. As domain name goes, a few people said, domain and Gonzalez, he says, the flat tail lift normally fits in space underneath the loading dock, which is made so you can drop the tail and then still reverse right up. He said, leaving just enough clearance for the tail lift, so you drop it that far from the floor and then just reverse it straight in. He said, but normally, he said, I get there and I tell him I've got a tail, and he said, and the fork truck comes out anyway. Godzilla says, with the cantilever, which is that big tail lift that I was talking about earlier on, he says, newer units these days have a bay with a hole under which will allow the tail to drop and slide under, as domain name guy says. So you simply drop it back down, about 2 inches from the floor, and reverse it straight in. Some tail lifts have rails that fold away so as not to impact your load. You drop back and then pull the rails back into locking place. He said that these will stop you sliding off the sides, both yourself and the load, which is dead handy. Some places have health and safety nut jobs demanding these tail lifts have them fitted. And he did actually do a video in the link that sort of throws you over to that one. But I just think, and it will depend. You'll go to certain RDCs and they'll go, you've got a tail lift? No, we're not taking it. Well, I can drop the tail and I can reverse it up to the bottom. No, we're not taking it. Unless it fits flat, we're not having it. Everybody's got their own set of rules. It's a bit like with the POD things. We don't want hard copies. We must have hard copies. We only want digital copies. We want digital copies. It'll drive you mad at the end of the day. You have to find a system you work with and just do the best you can. And also, Godzilla, so we're on a miscellaneous now. Godzilla said, here's one for you. He said it could be a long one. He said GT Manchester looking to fail as hang on a second. It's to do with the Euro 6 in Manchester was £60 fine. Portsmouth, which was new to me. Birmingham, of course, South Caz. Got York, Bradford, Newcastle. Basically, anywhere with a ring road is considering it as a source of revenue. I agree with you. I think you're right. Bristol is banning all diesel cars from March next year. Your thoughts are valid. So I will do one, because I said I would, about something Ash brought up on the difference between Euro 5 and Euro 6 and do we need it and cost effective and all that kind of stuff. But it is getting tougher out there. Everyone's like, what I don't understand is, everyone's going to turn around and go, yeah, we want clean air, we want the finest vehicles. We say, fine. That bottle of milk that used to cost you £1 is now going to cost you £1.50. What? Oh, no, don't want to pay the extra money. Yeah, you want the clean air, it's got to come from somewhere. We've got to scrap our £10,000 trucks and buy £20,000 trucks. The money's got to come from somewhere. It's going to cost you more money to get it delivered, I figure, but we'll see. And It's Me says, what current average pay for a long wheelbase Merc Sprinter or an extra large wheelbase Transit Euro 6? The Euro 6 doesn't matter. It's still going to be the same fee. I would say on a long wheelbase, you want to be looking nowadays, long wheelbase, extra long wheelbase, you want to be charging £1 a mile. I think. When I started, I was charging £1.10 a mile on a Luton and less, but everything's clocked up. I think you want to be looking for £1 a mile on a long wheelbase, maybe 120 on an extra long wheelbase. If it's got the zone on it, doesn't matter whether Euro 6 or not, put the zone charge on top because you've had to pay for that new motor. So if you're going to somewhere that's got zone on it, it's going to cost everybody else £15 to drive in, put an extra £10, £15 on for yourself. Because you've got to maintain your new van. As we just said, the milk's going to cost you more money. You want clean air, that's absolutely fine. But that doesn't mean that we have to survive on less dough, because it's hard enough as it is, you know. Paul Costigan says, he said, Waze versus Google. I did that last week, and I told everybody Google was better. I've since gone back to Waze. I thought it works all right for a little while, and then you go, when it stops in the middle of a dual carriageway and goes, you have arrived at your destination, I go, yeah, I kind of thought after 3 years not using it, you would have got that glitch out. The biggest problem I've had with Google after using it for about 2-3 weeks is the fact that it seems to subdivert my phone. So that it comes in, and rather than ringing on the phone, it rings through Google, then I can't work out to answer it. Then when I finally do answer it, it answers it, but it doesn't tune into the hands-free. And by the time it has tuned into the hands-free, I've lost the call. And it could be someone confirming me a job, so then I've quickly got to try and get back to them and go, yeah, I can still do it. Also, at the same time, it turns my volume on the phone, the ringing volume on the phone right down to nothing. Why? I don't know. I've just gone back to Waze. And the other thing that gets me is when you sort of go, you sort of do the overview, and you go, well, which way am I going? Going M1, am I going M6? With Waze, you click the thing at the bottom and it goes, go to junction 14, go to the M6. With Google, it's like a really detailed explanation. And I go, and I'm looking at this going, where am I going? I'm just going to follow it. So no, I've gone back to Waze. It's not perfect, and it still does that really irritating thing that if it's not on the front screen, it shuts itself down, but when it comes back on the front screen, it repicks itself back up again. So I still prefer Waze. Not perfect. It'd be brilliant if they could get width restrictions, stuff like that. But in the meantime, it's not perfect, but it's very, very good on live traffic, and it's free. Sean Gilmartin says, went off Waze and went on to Google Maps about 7 years ago, was finding Waze had too many residual road closed issues that no longer affecting the current routing. No, I can't say that. Fair enough. I take on board your point, but I've gone back to it. End of the day, you do you. We've all got our own personal preferences. We're all individuals. We can do what we want to do, kind of thing. Gintu Tasnik says, with all respect, guys, and this has come down to price per mile. The man says about how much should he charge. He says you should be charging £1.50 a mile in a Luton. If you're not, you're in the wrong business. He says the fuel, servicing, van insurance is expensive. If you go too cheap, you take home pretty much nothing after your deductible. Simple as that. So you get to the point where you're sweating for cheap, letting shipping companies build profits. We are doing the donkey work and killing our vehicles. We need to sort of hold the line. Respect for business, respect for ourselves and other people. Do not run it, do not ruin this business, and have a nice journey. That's his take on it. The problem you've got, I go with this Gintu Task, is you've got the conveyor belt of fools, which I've mentioned before, where you're always going to get people that come and do it too cheap, then go out of business and get replaced by other people. And you're always up against somebody, whereas you're thinking that job's £1.50 a mile, and he's thinking that job would be £1.50 a mile if it wouldn't be so the fact that it's actually I'm picking up here and it drops off 5 minutes away from my house. So with that in mind, I am going to do it cheap. And one day that guy's going to be you. You're thinking, well, normally I'd charge £1.50 a mile on that, but I really want that job because it's taking me home, so I'm going to go £1. And if you're going to do it, or you go £1.50 and then lose it and think, I wish I hadn't. That's it's a bidding platform, it's a backload platform. It has its problems. It is what it is. Christian Sutton says, hi, if anyone can help me, he says, I'm shopping around for my first long wheelbase van. Is an L3 okay for a long wheelbase van jobs? Obviously not as long as L4s. The way I've always worked this, Christian, there is one on sizes of vans, but the way I tend to look at it is short wheelbase, 1 pallet, medium wheelbase, 2 pallets, long wheelbase, 3 pallets, extra long wheelbase, 4 pallets. That's not an exact science. So you're looking at 1 metre, 1.2 metres on the short wheelbase, 2 metres, 3 metres, 4 metres. If you've got a 3 metre van, you tell everyone it's an extra long wheelbase, you could come unstuck. If you've got a 4 metre van, you're telling everyone it's a long wheelbase, you're probably selling yourself short. That's not an exact science, that's just a general rule of thumb. I work by that one, and I think if you put what your van is and the measurements in your on your CX profile and work on that principle, 99% of the time, I think you're going to be okay. And the final word today is from unknown user, who says he likes videos. It's a quick question. I'm a small van driver for a company in Bedford, but looking to buy myself a small van and start a CX. Do I think Bedfordshire is an area? It's a very good area for the CX, mate. This has all the makings of your lucky day. I don't live far from Bedford. I live just outside of Dunstable. And when I started, Tony was working in Purfleet, and he said, I didn't realise that when I put it into the CX, it's probably, in my opinion, Milton Keynes, I think, is the busiest area in the country when it comes down to the CX. It doesn't do me any favours to tell you guys this, because then you're all going to want to move to Milton Keynes and start taking jobs on the CX, which is where I work. But I don't work that way. I work on the karma thing. I work on the fact that I just want everybody to be happy, and up until this point, it's stood me in good stead. So that's it for this week. OCP, Robocop. Of course it is. So yeah, that's it. I hope you're all cool. Slowly getting back to normal, getting a bit lighter, getting a bit warmer. Take care, take money.